Hi patrons, I hope you're all very well. Thank you again for supporting me. This video is meant to be a review of badass ass, I guess if you say it in American, but I couldn't find it in time, and also it's not what we talk about. It's not my forte, and I'm gonna stay in my lane. I've actually taken an idea that Wilson gave me in the past, so this should make up for that, I'm hoping, and it's also something that everyone will be included in. It is my traumatic childhood in horror movies. Well, actually, I'm just gonna do movies in general. Usually there's movies that scare you that aren't supposed to scare you. Well, let's start with my experience without even seeing the film. I was terrified of it. And this is my first experience I can remember being terrified of a movie. I must have been really fucking young, like, I don't know, maybe like 5, 6, 7, I don't know, somewhere around that. And I remember going to the VHS store and seeing this huge cutout poster of it, or Pennywise or Bob Gray, and you know, the one with his fingers and how his fingers like look like monster claws around the side and he's like pulling it apart. I'll try and find the picture. And yeah, just being totally terrified. I don't know why they let that in the store. Like, I remember thinking at the time, this is totally terrifying. This is grown-up stuff. How can they let that be in here? And it gave me nightmares. It was totally the Bart Simpson clown's gonna eat me type situation.
If you should die before you wake.
Can't sleep. Clown will eat me.
And that is definitely my first horror movie that completely scared me, which is really funny today because look at my the back of my phone. I guess it's the new Pennywise, but you know. How things change. The second movie that gave me a traumatic childhood was The Labyrinth. I'm a huge fan of David Bowie now, but at the time that movie really fucking freaked me out. I remember watching it, I was home sick from school one day. This was when I had to be under 7 because I lived in Melbourne at the time, and I was staying at this house that was across the road from where my father worked at the time, and because it was not my house, I think he put me in there so he could come check on me during the day. He used to work in this timber warehouse, and it was across the road, and I believe it was on the property technically. So anyway, so he put me in there for the day because then he could come check on me like every hour or whatever. I remember either them putting on The Labyrinth or The Labyrinth was playing, and it was just terrifying to me, especially the whole like goblins taking your little brother. I just couldn't recover from that. It made me feel really weird, and I think it also didn't help that I was in a strange place, so I just felt really awkward and strange, and it was probably one of the first times I'd spent time like alone, so that was pretty traumatic. I can't remember anything particularly sticking out, but I think as these go on, the stories will get more in detail because obviously I'll remember more being older. The next one is probably the most traumatic experience of my life. Lorenzo's Oil. This one is a huge kind of fear of mine. I really need to rewatch it. It's a movie with Susan Sarandon in it, but you guys aren't gonna believe the story. It's pretty insane. So I watched it one day when I was homesick. I think I was probably like 9 at the time. It was one of those times where I was left homesick, 9 or 10 maybe, and my mom was like, you can't watch any TV. So as soon as she walks out the door, I turn on the TV. So the daytime movie that day was Lorenzo's Oil, and the movie is from 1992, and I guess it's quite a famous movie, and it is based on a true story. It's about a boy who has this strange disease and they can't figure out what it is. Turns out to be ALD, which I think 1 in 17,000 people suffer with today, but in this movie they couldn't figure out what the boy had. So they try and figure out, you know, how to fix him and how to cure him. But it was pretty traumatic watching it because the boy just really deteriorates, and the way he looked, like how he couldn't eat and all that kind of stuff just like completely scared me. It really, and I'll get into it, reminds me of Zelda from Pet Sematary, but it was terrifying in a way, just seeing this boy deteriorate and being so young that not understanding what the movie was really about. So I was always scared of this movie growing up, but I remember being at one of my best friend's house that I've known since I was 7 years old. One day we were downstairs and we were playing with our scooters, and then I noticed on the ground there was a kind of like a plaque, and it had, you know, I think it was a boy's handprint and like the name Jack underneath it, and I was like, what's this? And then one night I overheard my parents talking to my friend's parents when they were like picking me up or something about how there was a little boy who used to live in this house And he died, and he died of ALD. And this is the only reason I can put it all together is I remember them saying, oh, that it's like that movie, Lorenzo's Oil. And it freaked me out so bad. I remember growing up thinking that that was the actual boy, but I believe it was like, you know, obviously he just had the same thing, but I remember thinking, oh my god, it was based on this guy, it happened in this house, and being so terrified. But strange story, right? The next one would have to be Leprechaun. I was terrified of this movie and I did not watch it in full as a child, but I remember walking in and seeing some older kids watch it, and especially I think there's like a scene where Jennifer Aniston jumps in the car, I could be very wrong on this, and the leprechaun tries to get in and she like slams the door and he gets like his fingers stuck in the door. I don't know if that's right, but it in my head it happened, and it was just terrifying because it was like oozing green blood, and that always freaked me out. But it was never like I was scared of actual leprechauns. I was just a little bit scared of that movie. Somewhere in between all of those ones, I also went and saw Mars Attacks, which is weird because I'm looking it up now and it's 1996, so I would have had to be 6 years old because I remember seeing it in the cinema. And also being just completely terrified by it. Aliens, I love aliens, but my sister used to have this book that she got from like a book fair, and it had like real facts about aliens in there, and it was really fucking creepy. And just seeing that kind of movie always creeped me out. You guys know I'm just so scared of aliens, but I love them at the same time. So that was an interesting experience. I do believe that there is a scene, and correct me if I'm wrong, in Mars Attacks where they're in the shower, and then I remember being always scared of the shower because of that scene. But I mean, a lot of horror movies do that with you and the shower, so even though that's technically not a horror movie, it's a fantasy thriller, but also like kind of funny and strange, so very campy, and that does not come through when you're a child. There's two more. Blair Witch is one of them. I watched Blair Witch when I was 10, I had to be 10, and I just remember being so fucking terrified, and I've always been terrified. And I remember my sister coming through and trying to like poke me with a stick through the window. I used to sleep next to the window, so she came through trying to scare me, and that scared the fuck out of me. But Blair Witch is self-explanatory. That's the only one that actually makes sense of me being completely scared of, because I watched the movie in its full context and I was scared of the actual Blair Witch. Like, I understood that movie the most. The one after this, which is kind of not really a childhood one anymore, but something that feels like I've been scared of since childhood, is one of my favorite horror movies of all time is Pet Sematary and Zelda. I know that Vanessa also is not a fan. I know a lot of you guys aren't a fan. Well, I mean, when you say not a fan, I mean Zelda scares the fuck out of you, and I completely agree. Zelda always creeped me out. The way she looks, her mannerisms, the way she kind of like skimpers across the room, it's just everything that fear is based on, and I think that it was done so well. So I kind of got traumatized by that later in life, but it feels like something I've been traumatized since I was a kid about, because every time I think of her, it just like literally I've got goosebumps. So I'm really excited to see how they pull that off in the new Pet Sematary. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Those are all of my kind of childhood trauma fears. What are you guys scared of? What were you scared of as a kid? Let me know down below. I think Wilson really wanted me to talk about cartoons and things like that, but I didn't really watch anything that was scary, and things like Rocko's Modern Life and Ren and Stimpy After Hours and all that, I just thought it was funny. I didn't think it was scary, but it was movies that really scared me. It was the misunderstanding of movies that really scared me. I hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you again for supporting me, and happy birthday, Wilson, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Stay spooky. Bye.